class, I'm a teacher. So recently, one of your classmates asked me this question I retrieved from college entrance test. The main function of the web is to intercept and hold flying prey such as flies, bees, and other insects long enough for the spider to catch them. So he said the comma in here quite confused him, and he does not know what the phrase long enough for the spider refer to. Should it mean the web is long enough for the spider, or other insects are long enough for the spider to catch? So in English, the comma has different kind of word in sentence. It's not like Chinese. The commas in Chinese just they break the sentence, right? But in English they do more than that. So later I'm going to introduce the four main uses of the commas, and I'm going to talk about how they work and how can we use it. Okay, let's start with our first one. The listing comma. The listing comma is to separate the same item between a series. So in these two sentences, magazine, paper, novels, and textbook cover crowded shelves. And this item could be a phrase either you spend our time relaxing on the beach, swimming in the sea, and drinking coffee in the seaside cafe. Okay, so in here, the job of listing comma is to replace the word "and" or. So you could say the magazine and paperback novels and the textbook crowded shelves. This sentence is not wrong, but it doesn't sound good, so you better to use commas to separate them. And listing comma also can separate adjectives. So look at these two sentences. She has long, shiny hair. He noticed two tiny puncture marks on her neck. Look at what are the differences. Okay, could you remember? The listing comma can replace the word "and" or. So you could say she has long and shiny hair, but you cannot say he noticed two and tiny puncture marks on her neck. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound correct. And the two in here is to describe the whole tiny puncture marks. It means she has two tiny puncture marks, so you cannot add an or comma, a comma between them. Also, you cannot add a comma like this between them. This is not correct, okay? And the second type of comma is join comma. The job is to connect two complete thoughts. So when you're trying to connect two complete thoughts, you would use these phrases, this word, not phrases, for and, nor, but, or, yet. So these are the members of fanboys family. So in this sentence, the first Doctor of Philosophy degree was awarded in Paris in 1150. Okay, this sentence is independent clause, which means even though I did not add the following sentence, but the first sentence makes sense and the grammar is correct, okay? And also, the second one is either. The degree did not acquire its modern status until the early 19th century. You note, please note this, but when you use the the member from the fanboys family, and you should add a comma before it. But at the same time, do not use a comma in a sentence when the sentence just have one subject. So, for example, I wax the furniture and clean the table. So, you should not add a conjunction between them because the later part is not a complete sentence, and you could not use a comma to connect it. It's not correct. So let's move on to the third type of comma. It's also the join comma. This comma is to separate the main clause and the introductory material. So in this case, they are paid for and they all have a persuasive intent. This sentence is a complete sentence. It's an independent clause. And the first sentence in here just want to provide introductory information. So when you see the introductory material in the initial position of a sentence, and you should add a comma between them. Although it's also a conjunction, but it's not from family of fanboys. So if you want to use it at the beginning of a sentence, remember add a comma. But if you switch a sentence, then you do not have to add a comma. Okay? And the second sentence, they are set in the same principles. To begin with, this is the introductory material, so add a comma before it. After it. And the fourth one is probably the most complicated one. It's the bracketing comma. So we use bracketing comma to add extra information or extra phrases in the sentence. And the bracketing commas, they usually come with pairs. And our extra information goes into these two commas. So look at the example. One is highly elastic and can stretch to almost twice its original length before breaking. And for most type of spider is covered in glue. They too are selling something and trying to make a point. So did you hear the word that interrupt the flow? And that is the extra information. So in this case, when I remove the extra information, the sentence should make sense and complete. So when I remove the central part, if I say one is highly elastic and can stretch to almost twice its original length before breaking, and is covered in glue, this sentence also makes sense. Okay, this one maybe more easier. They are selling something and trying to make a point. This sentence, when I remove the two, it also makes sense and is full, it's clear. So when you remove the central part in the bracketing comma in the sentence also can make sense, and it's the bracketing comma. Okay, so these are the four main uses of the comma. And later I want you to finish a quiz. I'll give you 4 minutes to finish it. Okay, let's start. Okay, time's up. Place the commas where needed. So the first sentence. Wait a minute. Oh my goodness. in control. Okay, it's totally in control. Steven used the computer to check email, play games. The first sentence is listing comma. Okay, and the second one, Tiger do not make a good house pet. When I remove the central part, it also makes sense. So this is breaking comma. And the third one, when is the introductory material. So these are join comma. And the last one, the family from fanboys. So this one is also the join comma. You should add the comma before it. Okay? So let's back to our first question. So what does this sentence mean? So after we learn the four main uses of the comma, we find out that such as fly, bees, and other insects, these are listing commas. And when I remove it, the sentence will make sense. So it's long enough for the spider to catch them. It means the web should be hold long enough time for the spider to catch its prey. So in the second sentence, in order to do so, to do what? To intercept and hold the flying prey. So the answer is the so in here is referred to catch and kill a small creature. So this is the end of our